Good morning. How is everybody today? We're having a slightly rearranged session to what we normally do, but I'm glad to be here. And yeah, hope that you guys can join me and I can share some information with you that will help as you build your business. So let me just fix up my phone here. Every time I move my laptop, because I had to take it somewhere yesterday, the rearranging when I get back online, it always looks different. Don't know why. Even if it's in the same spot and same angles, it still looks different. But anyway, so if anyone is able to join me today, I've got my live stream open on my phone. If you've got any questions, please pop them into the chat and I will come back to them as soon as I can. But first of all, where are you? Is it morning? Is it evening? Where are you right now? I'm in kind of sunny Queensland. We're usually sunny. It's a bit drizzly where I am this morning, but it's fantastic. I love this time of year. It's autumn for us. We're coming into the colder months, and that is my favourite time of year. I love the change. I love the kind of hunkering down that happens in this time of year. So let's get started on this webinar, shall we? I wanted to talk with you today about personalities and how we can use our understanding of personalities to build our community. Now, why is that important? Let me show you an image. I don't know that it's going to show up particularly well because of where I've got it saved as a PDF, but let me share with you an image that I use a lot in amongst my business. I think it's just going to show us in Adobe, but anyway, you'll at least see it. Okay, so hopefully you can see this image here that I call the Dream Tree Framework. It'll show up. There we go. Yeah, you can see the whole lot. Never mind. Where am I going? Why is my little doodad not showing up? There we go. I want the spotlight. Right. Tech is going great today, people. I don't know about you, but this is not always my most fun thing. Why am I not getting, I want the spotlight. There we go. This bit, right. This image here, I share quite a lot. And as I look at I've got a second screen over here, which is where I can see this at the moment. So I'm talking to you guys here, but the image itself is actually on my second screen right now. So apologies if I seem a little disconnected. This image is the Dream Tree Framework. It's something that I started using to explain processes within my business, actually fairly early on, given that I'm coming up close to 4 years. It's probably only about 18 months in before I actually started toying with this. And then I ended up, had a beautiful artist, Peter Crane, aka Peter Adams, who I commissioned to draw this for me, to create this image for me. And as you can see, it's a version of a tree of life, but with an Australian twist, which I think is really important. I think it's really, as we navigate through our growth in business and with all the work that we do online, you know, I think it's really important that we maintain our personal identities as we go through there. You know, so much about our world becomes Americanized because of the influence of America. It's such a big country, huge influence globally. I'm like, no, let's celebrate the Australian. So, you know, we've got a gum tree here. Now, as you know, any tree is, you know, you can see what's above the ground. You've got the trunk and the branches and the canopy. And the root system that supports that tree, though, in general, is usually about double the size of the actual tree. So in this case, this is a relatively small root system for this particular tree. But the idea behind this and why I use this within my business is talking about the fact that if you take this analogy for you as a human being, what we see above the ground, this is you as your physical body. This is the life that you are creating for yourself. Your canopy is whatever it is that you are doing, whoever it is that you are. That may be, maybe you're in business, maybe you're not in business. Perhaps you're a parent, maybe you're not. Maybe you are, you know, still in school and still, as you're watching this, and still developing. And so maybe you're more like a sapling than a fully mature tree at this point, which is so exciting because there's so much ahead of you. But if you think about it, like how well we can create this canopy, how much we can actually create in our lives the things that we are truly looking for is determined by how well the root system or the framework underneath is actually nourished, right? And one of the things that, so how does this relate back to this stuff about personalities? As somebody reminded me yesterday when I presented about this at a networking event locally, trees grow normally in communities. They grow together, but when they are actually, trees that are growing communicate with each other. They share nutrients. They support each other. You'll often find that their root systems are intertwined. And it's similar for us as human beings. If we want to have a really strong life, create the world that we want, create the results that we want, yes, we need to be very mindful of nourishing our own root system and being really clear and supporting our own dreams. But it's also important to be a part of a community. There will be people around you. Maybe you've got a really extensive community and maybe yours is quite small. Each their own. This is a zero judgment space. However, the more you are connected with your community, whoever that happens to be, the stronger those connections are, the more that you can support each other, the more that you understand where the other person is going to, then the more that the stronger this framework becomes, and therefore also the stronger those results will become that you're actually creating. So I hope that the kind of idea of that makes sense to you. If I haven't seen any comments pop up there, I'd love to hear from you, whether that kind of makes sense or not. I can see that there's a couple of people watching, but I don't know who you are because Facebook is not playing nicely over this side. Anyway, let's leave it at the fact that for the moment, we need community around us. We need people around us to be able to create the life that we want. Even if you are a super solitary human, we still need community for the sake of survival. There's very few of us who have the capacity to create all of the food and nourishment that we need for ourselves. Most of us don't have the knowledge when we need the knowledge to be able to treat ourselves if we need medical care, right? Even just on a super fundamental level, we need a strong community. And then as you work on wanting to create a bigger and bigger impact in the world, perhaps you have, goals to or are already, running a significant business that's having a massive impact on the world. And good on you if that's you. To be able to do that, though, you've needed a lot of people, whether it's, other professionals that you've worked with, whether it's consultants, whether it's staff who have come in on your team. There's always a community around you. There will also be a whole bunch of people that you want to just be able to talk with on a friendship basis. Those people who you either, talk to and just vent about the stuff that's going on, and so you can get things off your chest and unpack whatever's going on. And maybe it's about other people who you like. There's an accountability group that I work with, and we go into that session every month with the specific intention of catching up quickly as other women in business. But the primary goal of that conversation every month is to check in with where our businesses are so that we can help each other to progress forwards to whatever the next step is as we grow towards the goals that we're working on creating. So that part of the community is really important to me. But what I wanted to do is to share with you about how understanding the different personality profiles can help you to build a stronger community around you. Now, there are dozens and dozens of different personality profiling systems. They each have their own value. I'm not here to, talk about any of them other than one that I'm really familiar with and that I have used a lot. Now, why I use this one? Because it's really simple. I like simple. I like easy. I like stuff that's shareable. I like stuff that's really applicable. I'm not going to, it's highly unlikely that I'm ever going to go into anything that's like really deep level personality profiling. I want a tool that I can pick up and run with. And that's what this is for me. It's a tool that I use, the understanding that I've developed of myself and of the people around me has become a tool to help me move forwards so that I can maximize opportunities that are in front of us, not to manipulate people. That is, there are those who will want to go down that path with this kind of knowledge. That's not me. Mine is, if this is about what can we work, how can we work together? How can we best improve our communication with each other so that we are both on the same page, regardless of which direction we're coming in from? Because I don't know about you, but most people in this world, we know, particularly when I was younger and I didn't understand this, there were so many people that were just a bit strange and I didn't understand why. And now I understand some of this a lot more deeply. The strange, it's just, oh, they're not strange, they're just different. Like now when I was thinking about the strange, this is me from a very immature mindset. This is before I started the processes of learning all this stuff. And so the whole idea of sharing this is so that you can help yourself to move forwards with a better understanding. Hello, Kimberly, of the people who are, you want to be able to move forwards with a better understanding of the people who are around you, but also the person that you are as an individual. So let me jump into it. I've got a very quick little PowerPoint slide here that I want to share with you so that to help you go through, to help with this understanding a little bit more. Let me share from here and hopefully I can still see what's going on here. All right. So the system that I use is from a book called Personality Plus. Now, this book has been around for a really long time. I have copies of it downstairs. I don't actually remember when it was originally written, but I think it's from back in the 60s. But the thing about this is that this work, this knowledge, this information has stood the test of time. It is relevant today as when it was first written. And it is just, in my opinion, one of the easiest ways to, like I said, understand yourself and understand the people around you in terms of your personality profile. And then from that, you'll also understand communication styles, right? So Personality Plus was written by a lady called Florence Littauer. There is a second, like sort of prequel that came out a long time after the original called Personality Plus at Work. It's a co-author book with Florence and another person whose name I can't remember right now. That book's written more of a case study. And what I found really useful was actually reading Personality Plus, getting an understanding of that just as a description of the processes, and then reading the second one to get that stronger understanding, that deeper application of it, of this information. But let me run you through this very quickly. There are 4 fundamental personality styles within the system of Personality Plus. You've got your sanguines, the cholerics, the melancholies, and the phlegmatics. Yes, the words are a little bit unusual. I don't know why they've chosen that. It just works. In essence, we all have a combination of each of these personality profiles, just in varying degrees. Most of us will have a primary style and a secondary. Some of them are a bit more spread out. Others will have a very strong primary profile, and then the others are little tiny bits. You know, we're all individual. But the thing about it is that when you look at the different parts of the personality profiles, whatever is there, if it's taken to the extreme, it can be massively positive or it can be also massively negative, right? And the expression of those traits will be influenced by external factors. So to give you an example very quickly, and I'll explain what this actually means later on, but my default personality, particularly when I am in a state where I'm feeling really uncomfortable, is as a choleric. And then what I do is when I realize that that's making other people uncomfortable, I flick into sort of more of a sanguine, because there's a fair chunk of that in me as well. What that means, I'll share with you a little bit later on. So how can all this, when we get into the nitty gritty of this, how does all this help? The biggest thing that I've found that it helps me with is helping me to understand me and helping me to accept who I am and how I communicate and where my focus is and what's important to me. Now, this is something that you know, as a teenager, I was just seriously felt like such a fish out of water. I went to boarding school. I felt incredibly disconnected from most of the people that I was at school with. Because back then I didn't know this stuff. I didn't understand. We didn't go through this kind of content when I was at school. The thing about it is that once you know where the personality profiles sit, where what your default is, and also the people who are around you, you can then use that to choose how you speak, choose the language that you use and your general communication style, so that you can enhance that connection. I mean, and this, again, this is not about manipulating or being fake for the people who are in front of you. You know, if you're going to stop and talk to you know, you're an adult and you engage in a child, particularly like a kid who's, say, early primary school, right? You modify the way that you speak typically in terms of the choice of words, etc., so that they can understand what you're saying and you can have a quality conversation with them. In a different context, this is a similar idea. When you understand what is important to another person, then if you can adjust the way that you communicate and the words that you choose so that you can connect more strongly with that person. All right, so let me give you an example of that. The first personality profile I want to go through is sanguine. Now, the sanguine people are bright and bubbly. They are full of energy, like always. Their default is bouncing off the walls kind of thing, right? Sharon, yes, I think it's a great tool as well. It is like when you understand personality profiling, whether it's this or another, and can use it really well, it is so, so powerful. But getting back to the sanguine people are the life of the party. If you are in a crowd, they are typically the people who are the center of attention. If there's a big circle and one person is talking, usually that person, and you know, it's not that you've been guided there, this is just a general conversation, that person who will be kind of holding court, for want of a better term, is usually a sanguine personality. They are an entertainer, right? They want people to have fun. They want life to be fun. Fun is the most important thing to them, above and beyond everything else, and sometimes at the exclusion of everything else. Sanguine personalities have a focus on the fun over the details, and sometimes, honestly, over the top of accuracy, because the fun is more important. And they have this really strong innate desire to be liked by others. Hello, Sister Harrison. So it's really important that when you understand that somebody who is a part of your circle, or maybe this is yourself, has a sanguine personality, it's really important to be able to communicate that in that way with them. Now, why do I come back to this when I'm suddenly talking about personality profiles when we're talking about communication, building communities? The more quickly you can work out somebody's personality profile and communicate in that in their sort of the language that makes sense to them, the more quickly you will build those stronger bonds. Right. So if we take this back to a sanguine person, and you want to talk with them about, you know, something that you're doing over the weekend and you want them to come along, if you can focus on the fun and focus on this is where we're going and this is who we're going to be with, and all of those, what they see as being a super positive, that's the things that they're looking for. They're looking for entertainment. And so oh yeah, absolutely, we'll do that. It'll be awesome. You know, and then it's like, oh, later on we'll worry about can I actually get there and all the logistics and that sort of stuff, right? So it's about this understanding that a sanguine human is looking for fun, entertainment. You know, they are the bright and bubblies. If you look at a room of particularly business people, right? And I know most people, there's sort of this thing in business, not always, but particularly when you get down to like Melbourne, everyone wears black, right? So many people like default to black for whatever reason. That's fine, it works. You know, you can wear the same thing over and over again and nobody really, like I'm wearing it myself today. And if you see a big old room of people in black clothing, and then there's a red suit or there's a bright yellow suit somewhere, or someone somewhere is this pop of color within a sea of of darkness, that pop of color person is often a sanguine. Not always, but often they will have that, because they want that brightness, and that reflects in the way, in their choice of clothing as well. The next personality profile I want to go through quickly is the cholerics. Now, your choleric people are the natural leader, right? They are sometimes known as bossy, depending on where your terminology sits, and whether you want to go in the positive or the negative here. But the cholerics like to lead. In a kind of more extreme situation, they're like the sergeant major. Like if you think of, I'm not a military human, so I apologize for those who are, if this is the wrong terminology. But if you think of, all the people who are out on parade going through their drills, and there's one person who's typically calling out or yelling the commands at them, right? That person is quite often a choleric personality. They like to lead. They like to give instructions. They like to coordinate. They can see that big picture, right? This needs to be done. I want you to do this, you to do that, you to do that, you to do that. This way. And sometimes that can be taken to, it's my way or the highway, right? Like I said, there are positives and negatives in the way that this information is shared. Choleric people are very strong in their opinions. And by default, they can also be very difficult to reason with, right? They just, it takes a lot of work to help them understand that that if you see their perspective as being wrong, then why it's wrong, right? That it takes a lot of work to sort of sort that out and penetrate their thought processes, I guess, is probably the best way to say that one. So the next person is the melancholy. Melancholy people in this system, these are the people who are really details oriented. They are the ones who will dot the I's and cross the T's. They will they will know where everything is in their home, everything is organized, everything has a place and is in its place. They are very, very meticulous in what they do. Often they've got super neat handwriting. Usually they will present with, they are the people that can be in the middle of a hurricane and have not a hair out of place, right? They just present beautifully always. Accuracy is of the utmost importance. Accuracy and details. That's a really, really, really important factor to a melancholy personality. So when we're talking about, going away for the weekend or organizing some kind of get together, the melancholy isn't really worried about whether or not you're going to have fun. They want to know where you're going to, where this event's happening, what time it's happening, do they need to bring anything? Maybe they'll be asking about who else is there. They need to be aware of, is it formal or informal so that they can dress appropriately? They need to understand these details. And so the more that you can then, if you can see or understand that the person that you're speaking with, or even again, it's about understanding who you are, when you know that they are a details person, share them those details and it gives them the information that they need to then make a decision that they're comfortable with, right? The fourth personality style is the phlegmatics. Now, the flags are, they're the chilled out, mellow people, right? They're the people that if you can sit down, you can lie down. If you can lie down, you can probably take a nap, right? And that nap may be in the corner of a big social gathering, because if they decide that for the flags, it's all about conserving energy for when you have something important coming up, right? And if the people who are there or the event that's happening is not deemed to be important, then it's more important to conserve some energy over in the corner, right? They are often perceived as being lazy, not necessarily the case. Energy is there to be conserved. The thing about a phlegmatic is that it's often really hard to get them going, right? They're kind of a slow burn, right? But once they get going, they are very, very just absolute laser focused on the goal that they are approaching. If you think of a tugboat in the harbour, right? A tugboat will just get in there and just gently push everything out of the way and get to exactly where it needs to be, right? It's their job, right? As in terms of, I'm not an aviation, what do you call it? Sea person. But, you see a tugboat that's in there helping the bigger ships to maneuver, but their job is to sometimes, rearrange others to create the path that's required for the boat that they're actually helping. This is what a phlegmatic human is like. When they have a goal, they will just stare that down, and nothing else that happens around them is relevant, because this is what's happening, right? They are the calm in the storm. They, as I said before, they are not people to expend energy just because it's there to be spent, right? You phlegmatics, if you've got an emergency happening, the sanguines are going to be, oh my God, what's going on? It's like their default is to, go into that high energy, a little bit scatterbrained. I get it. This is me. I know, I don't like Tilly's just put in here that I'm reading that as phlegm. Yes, it does start with phlegm. It's not, though. It's a phlegmatic, or if you're talking about people, you just chop it to phleg and chop off the M. Anyway, if you have an emergency situation, the sanguines are going to be all up in the head, buzzing around, no idea what to do, and often like adding to the chaos. The phlegmatic, though, will just stand still and just go, you take care of this and you take care of this. And I had this happen within our family. So my husband has a big old chunk of phlegmatic personality, which I absolutely love. When I first met him, I didn't understand it. It took me a really long time to be appreciative of that side of his personality, because there's very little phleg within me. However, when our son it was the week before he started prep, so he would have been about 5 years old. Little altercation happened at home, and he ended up punching a sheet of glass, in an old door, right? And got this horrendous cut on his arm, and he still has the scar there to this day. But it was just, oh my good Lord. It still sends shivers through me. We were so fortunate in, it just missed major arteries and just missed nerves, and like just phenomenal, honestly. We were so fortunate with what happened and how it all came to be, because he ended up with multiple, I think it's something like 32 internal stitches, and then another 6 external. It was like a major injury on this little tiny arm. And I saw what had happened, and I just kind of crumbled, and then just turned around and went, Terry, do this. Alana, do that. Gordy, do this. And he just, I'm assuming that inside he was as stirred up as I was, but he just calmly directed all of us so that we could get the ambulance out. And then he and Gordy went in the ambulance off to the hospital. I sorted out stuff at home, and brought Alana in with me later on. And, I don't know how I would have coped with that. I know that my default, if I'm the adult, I can cope with that stuff. But when there's somebody else around, I just kind of go to jelly. But to watch how he managed that emergency was just, man, it was like poetry in motion. And I'm like really glad that he was there. I kind of wish it never happened, but you can't adjust these things. Anyway, when you understand that phlegmatic people, this is their superpower, of this calm in the storm, the unwavering pursuit of a goal when they have decided. But in the meantime, if you're like me, phlegmatics can be a little bit frustrating because, the job hasn't been done. And yeah, anyway, understanding it is where the superpower sits for all of us, is when you can apply it, and you can understand yourself, you can understand your partner, your kids, your parents, your work colleagues. It's just such powerful information when you know this and you can apply this information. And like I said, I prefer to use this system as opposed to so many of the others, because it's so simple, because there's only 4. It's quite easy. It's not going to give you every answer under the sun, but it's very easy and very usable you can often pick a person's personality profile within your very first few minutes of a conversation when you understand it well. So how do we use this information? So I want you to consider how this information applies to the people that you already know. How does it apply to your significant other if you are in a significant relationship? How does it apply to your children if you have children? Be aware that kids will kind of fluctuate a little, particularly in those earlier years. Not massively. A lot of this is already there. It just takes some time to kind of be expressed. Have a think about, how does this apply to your best friend? What can you see in them? Often I found when I was going through this and first learning it, that it was easier to take this information and kind of assess other people first before I went on to the self-assessment, because I was looking at them without the emotion of being tied to me. And so if you're in that stage, this is not a judgment thing. It's about assessing and working out and applying that information, and then test it. If you've got a friend who is, bright, bubbly, airy, lots, super colorful, loves to have fun, talk to them about something and then have a conversation and give them all the details and see if they switch off or if they still engage with you. And then try the same thing again, focusing on the fun, and observe the difference in how they interact with that conversation and whether or not they want to, come on board with whatever it is that you're suggesting. It's just like, it's like a little test and measure thing, right? Once you've gotten a little bit more comfortable with that, then come back and have a look at how this applies to you. What is it that you need as a human? Where do you default to? How is it that this information can help you to better understand yourself, about where your values sit, about what you're doing within your business, about where the focus is, about who you can bring on board to help fill in doing the stuff that you're not so excited about. So for me, I don't know, there's a bunch of different bits within my business that I don't particularly enjoy. I love my business as a whole, but there's, the paperwork and background stuff is something that's not my favorite thing. When it's done, I like it to be run really, really, really well. But setting up the systems and stuff to actually do that is not my forte. But again, one of the things about this is that when I understand that this is who I am, then when I know that I need to find help in that space, looking for people who have those qualities where I am not so strong is really powerful, because they can support me in my business journey, and not clash so much with, if we've got two very similar personality profiles, there's often a little bit of it becomes dysfunctional if you're trying to build a team. We always talk about the whole, the yin, the yang, or it's really important to be aware of where your strengths are. And then when you are building a team, to build in people whose strengths are complementary to you. Because if you've got similar strengths to the other person that comes into your team, then you often also have similar weaknesses, and that's not a good look for the entire kind of business success as a whole. So let me stop the share there for a minute. I'm just going to duck back into the comments for just a moment and see if there's anything else that has popped up. It's so lovely to have seen so many of you on this morning. So what I would love is that why do I share this? Because I love this information. It has helped me so much, and I want this information to be able to help you. I share this kind of stuff with my clients, possibly not on this level when it comes to the coaching stuff, but definitely when we get into like the retreat, and when I do the Big Dreams retreat in August, we go through a big old chunk of this, where there's a whole sections here about all these different descriptions where the strengths and weaknesses of the different personality profiles come in. So look, if you've got any questions, please reach out, give me a yell. If you want to explore this further, I'm more than happy to chat always. This is who I am. There's a fair chunk of sanguine in me, like I said. Anyway, at this stage, there's no more comments in there or questions to be answered. So I just want to say thank you for those of you who have jumped on today. I appreciate you being here. And if you, like I said, got any questions, pop it in the chat. If you're catching this on the replay, chuck replay in there. Probably should have said that at the beginning. Anyway, and I don't know what you're doing, but I hope you have an amazing day. And for now, it's bye from me.